Welcome to the Close to Home podcast. Real people, real life, real stories. Insight and inspiration from Close to Home brings a fresh perspective on home, business, and life. Join the professionals across real estate, construction, insurance, and financial lending to gain perspective not only from their individual and professional experience, but also from their life stories. What's up, guys? Happy Friday.
Hey, Dan. Good
Hey,
morning.
Jaclyn. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Ashley.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jim. I believe that
It's
you
Jim's
are
day.
you are the spotlight today. So hopefully you had your coffee.
We've had some coffee.
Do a little bit of talking about owning your home without it owning you, right? Is that what we're talking about today?
That's it. So
Bingo.
the impending question that falls upon yours and my shoulders at the same time, how much house should I own? How much house should I buy? What's the magic? And it changes from era to era. Back in the 90s, it wasn't an odd thing to afford as much home as you can because you were under the anticipation that your income would be on a steady increase. Times have changed a little bit, and it changes from, as the economy changes. So there is that happy medium, and we've talked about it a lot of different times about how you want to be prepared for tomorrow and you want to live decently today, okay? And everybody has a different opinion on that. Your goal to financial success doesn't have to be, living rough, until you get to a certain point, and then you can just go ballistic. It's never like that. Everything is a balancing act. So how much home should you buy? Does anybody remember their first home?
I do.
I'm still in my first home.
Still in it.
Darn kids.
I've had lots of homes. For being pretty young, lots of homes.
Yeah. Well,
How many homes have you had?
3.
3. Okay. So, yeah. That's a few. Yeah.
So talking about like your home not owning you or just being smart with decisions, this is kind of what we're teaching my 20-year-old right now is like you buy smart at the right time, whatever's right for you. And then you leverage what you can get out of it however many years later. And then you buy that next home with all that as a down payment. So you're not really changing much. And you just keep right? Our
Yes.
goal was to get bigger homes each time. And we've done that. And we have a gorgeous home right now. And it really is not that much difference in price than where we were at with our very first home.
So a couple of things to keep in mind. So once you start the ownership program, the responsibilities are yours versus rent. It's a little different. Hey, the dishwasher broke. Well, let's call up the landlord and, you can work well on a budget when you're renting. Okay. The other thing is, a decent kickoff. Those of you who are financially willing, let's put it this way. I had a conversation with the kid, and I said, hey, I got an idea. I said, instead of you moving into a place and renting out rooms to your buddy, which would be financially prudent, why don't you stay home, save your money. As long as you save your money, we're not going to charge you any rent, unless it's too rough around here to live with, these old farts, whatever the case is. It's like, oh, wait a minute here, starts thinking about it a little bit. All right, we can do that. That's a kickoff, and so I will tell you
more
this.
For the down payment, you mean?
Yeah, and in our house, we did a little different. Mom did a little participation, keep one eye on the accounts. The kid's wide open. He's very, how do I say this, doesn't care. It's like, yeah, there, help yourself. There it is, So, he saved up and he got a good kickoff. And, in hindsight, I think I talked to you about some of the trails that we've undergone, how it could be different if you would have been set up a little bit differently, and that's not a blame the parent game or anything like that. It's just, if you can do a good plan.
Game of life.
Yes. If you can do, take the hand you're dealt with and figure out what your next step's going to be, that's going to be a good one. So if you can save up a down payment and save up, a few different things, you can do things that many others haven't. And this is the problem we have right now. We all look at the neighbors next door, and I want toys like Dan and Ashley have, where I can go out and tear it up in my side-by-sides, And then, I guess each of us, and as Jaclyn had mentioned, she does have a beautiful home. And it's one of those things where, you realize your home is your cohabitation. It's your family. It's a sacred spot. It becomes you, and this is why everything that we do is important. You want to lead that life and make those decisions that are going to help you and your family get where you need to go. Now, whatever your path is and whatever your goals are, it's the right one. You just have to remember, that whatever you're paving is fairly solid. So whatever your decisions are don't just affect you. They affect everybody who's with you and whatnot. Now, that doesn't make it a bad situation, but back to affording the home that you want to afford. You want to get into something where you can live comfortably. And you do have some of the nice things. We none of us know what our future is, when it's paved, what our last day is, any of that kind of thing. And we don't want to think about that. And you know what? For goodness sake, you don't have to. Figure out how you want to live now. Okay, well, how do we want to live now? We have to be prudent. We have to be prepared for tomorrow, but we have to live today. So get some of those nice things. That doesn't mean go haywire and get every single thing that you need. Have in mind what's most important to you. And that's going to help Ashley out. It's going to help Dan out. It's going to help Jaclyn know what to cover. But the point is you don't want to spend all your money on your home. And, there was a time when that was okay. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think you need to be prudent. You need to talk about, with whoever you're considering, or if you're solo, what's going to be coming up? How long will it be until I have to put a new roof on this place? How long will it be until, I have to remodel these bathrooms, this kitchen, everything else like that? What school district am I in? Some of these might be cause for you to step up if you have kids, and you're coming in somewhere else. These are all important things. So the first thing you need to do is try your best, and this is difficult, to have a budget, know where you want to be, look at it, see how close you can come. I know for us, versus banks, credit unions, things like that, we'll go, sometimes 10% over the debt ratios that they will. We will let you extend into a home if you have good cause for it. You know what you're doing. And we look at disposable incomes, how much is left over. What's disposable income? Dan, you know what disposable income is?
So is it what you have left over after the necessities are paid for?
Exactly. What you can throw away.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when you have a larger income, the disposable income is going to be much greater than that of somebody.
Hopefully.
Yes, but
right. I mean, we see
That's the goal.
We see a lot of people, get themselves in over their head. That was a lot of 2008 that you talked about, right? So,
it is, and it was detrimental. And we're at one of those points now too, where everybody's talking about the economy ahead and this and that, and it needs to be personal. You need to make your own decisions. You need to make the best decisions you can, and you need to push forward. So
right.
For me right now, if I wasn't a homeowner, I would be. I'll tell you why. I want to accumulate that equity. And you take it with you, and before you know it, it grows. And I can't think of any circumstance in any given time when real estate didn't eventually catch up and grow. It had gone backwards for the first time in a long time in 08, 09. Very rare. But here in the Midwest, it was a very short-lived thing. Again, we got our, 2.5% to 5% growth shortly after, and then it made up for
exponentially.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we're seeing that now. And so a lot of people are sitting on equity. Okay, what's good about buying now? And again, how much should we buy? Well, what's good about it right now is we're not having those bidding wars. Yeah, rates are up a little bit higher, but this is a good situation to look at, because if you lock in now, you kind of know what you have. And when the rates fall, should they fall, remember, they might not, then, you can just go refinance. However, if they fall again, we could be in bidding wars again. Now, when in bidding wars, what happens?
Everyone loses.
Oh, absolutely.
You're paying more for the home,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
So would you say that it's worse to get in a bidding war and pay $50,000 over, because that was literally happening,
Oh,
than
50 grand was.
then be at a 7% interest rate?
So to be diplomatic, if you're buying a heavier home, larger home, and you go in, 50,000 higher, but your interest rate's in the threes, the 50 grand is going to be pennies,
Right.
Yeah.
and in the overall picture. But as you're going to learn about me as we go, I would like you to be a little bit under your means, and I'd like to talk to you about how you can prepay this and legally rob the bank. In other words, shorten your term, build more equity. Well, what's that do for Dan and I? Well, I can't speak for Dan, but most of us are greedy to be generous, and I feel like he's in that boat. But we want you soluble, so when you're ready for your next upgrade, you're ready. Or if you want to, do your remodel, you're ready.
Good standings.
Yes. So, and everybody's going to be different. So rather than just address the fact that what's the right amount of home to own, it's going to be different for everybody. So, and I don't mean to short the topic here, but it's going to be different for everybody, and we should weigh it out. And yes, we're going to ask those personal questions, but for good reason.
Everybody's in a different spot in their life. I mean, like me, I've got one really little one and one on the way, and Ashley's got a couple little ones too. You are in a little bit different situation in your life, right?
The wind down. Yeah, empty nesting now.
Yeah. So that looks a little bit different for you than it would for us. We need to get into a home where we can grow. You
need to find a ranch instead of the 2-story.
That's right. So you can solve your laundry issue.
Yeah, and get a she shed before she kills me. She's like, I'm stuck with you.
Oh man.
So, I have this conversation with people on a daily basis too, and they say, well, interest rates are up. Well, okay, isn't everything up? Milk's up, eggs are up, 2x4s are up. Yeah, interest is up now. If you buy now and they go down, you can refi. If you buy now and rates go up even more,
You're
aren't
locked
you
in.
in a better spot?
Yes.
Right?
Historically, are the rates really up?
I mean,
34 years, guys. This is not
the
the worst
90s
of
were like
rates.
18%.
That was the 80s,
80s.
but yeah.
Sorry.
Jaclyn's still young, even though she's got a couple years on the other. And so it's one of those things, where I came in kind of at the end. I think Ronald Reagan was in, and I'm rewriting loans people have for 16 and 20% for 8%. And they're doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
And here we
just
are in the
crazy.
sixes. I think my first house, was 645, maybe 675. I can't remember. Two things start to happen when you age. One, you start forgetting things. I can't remember the other one. But so the thing with this is, it is important to find that balance. So, and I'm going to segue into some of the future stuff, but we're gonna shock you guys a little bit with what can happen if you get a realtor and you go out there and you find that house and it needs the tender love and care, and then you call Ashley in here, and they're going to tell you how to do this prior to moving in with the same amount of down payment, most likely. And we'll show you how to do that. We'll show you how when she's building and putting that work in, how we can do it without having a payment for 6 months. Give them time to finish that up. How many people know that you can do that kind of thing?
I was unaware.
It's
magic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a little bit of a shocker. And then we can talk about too, what improvements, some improvements will add a ton to your investment. For instance, most of the comps, and when I say comps, comparable houses in the area, are basically, based on a square footage. Well, what if you added some square footage? And you guys have heard me 100 times, add a hearth room. I mean, you're talking about, you can spend some decent money here and actually pat yourself on the back with a little extra equity, depending on what you want to build. But when you add footage, you're adding a lot. So, and I don't know if you guys do the third levels on the houses, but, I would like to prescribe some of those too.
Pop tops, I believe is what they're called out west.
And I'm not sure. I'm still stuck on bungalow here for. And anyway, that's what I've got. And so, for the youths, the first time home buyers, all those types of things, when you're planning out, go in lightly. Maybe if you're really prudent, consider spending a little bit more to give yourself some time. So if you have a 3 to 5 year plan, look at a 7-year plan. If you have definitely a 10-year plan, then maybe back up and look at the 7 again, because, plan for life to change, I know, and I don't want to throw you under the personal bus here, but I think you got your second surprise and blessing a little bit earlier than you expected.
A little sooner than what we originally thought. But yeah, no, I mean, our plan since we've bought our home has changed drastically. Yeah. Adding people into the home. We made little people and we're their leaders now. Yep. So adding that definitely changes things.
So
I just want, Jim, I'm hearing you speak and I'm kind of thinking about what Ashley said and what I said. And this really comes down to a common theme where our listeners, a lot of people are really guarded when they first meet somebody or when they're going through really big things like financing or purchasing a house or reconstructing or what have you. Being open and transparent and really letting down that wall and sharing very personal stuff is really the best way to get honest help.
Yeah.
It's okay to not be an expert at everything.
Or be perfect.
Exactly.
For sure.
Like, we are the experts in our industry, and you may be an expert at, listeners, what you do for a living, but there is nothing wrong with not having all the answers and being a little humbled in being open so that you can truly get the best advice for where you're at in your known situation. Because again, we can't foresee the future.
Yeah.
Well, look at it this way. Most of the people, and who they are, some people experience a little bit more success than others, and they all got there in a different way, but it's one of those things where, okay, let's throw Ashley under the bus here. She doesn't like to be cornered, but here's the fact. And we know this about her without having to know her forever, which is she has a pretty calm demeanor to her, which means whatever the issue is, that's how you get things worked out. I mean, this is really true. And, if you can find that innate calm when you're doing stuff objectively, or in your own everyday endeavors, somebody gives you bad news, or your mortgage guy asks you for something, you're like, why do I need that? What? It's my job to explain why we need it. Nobody wants to ask you for something that's going to make you mad. It just happens, And so when you work with all these people, you find that the people at the top of the food chain here, and when I say that, the very wealthy, they have this incredible calm about them. What do you need that for? What is it? And you can tell they deal in possibly a high stress position, and they're the right person to be there. Those people prosper so much better. And I'm sitting next to one now, Dan. I mean, I've thrown the world at him before, and we've put our heads together to make easy street for the clients. And I know you both do that too.
Right.
But I mean, we've had some pretty tall orders, you know.
We've had a couple hurdles that we had to clear.
Well,
Speed bumps.
and
Speed
that's
bumps.
yeah, and that's why a decent relationship is always going to be that way. And some people don't have the patience. Look, how many of us know there's people that can't be pleased? I think I used to be one of them. You know what I mean? You're just like impossible. Well,
That had to be many moons ago.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
not
I-
seeing
sorry.
it. I'm giving
going now.
I'm
okay,
giving
so
you
that
some pretty
calm
words.
is
Yeah.
partially
Yeah.
from being pummeled, but no, you need to have your direction, go, and always move forward. Always know what your options are, and sometimes they're not great, but and so when you're shopping for your home, that's what you have to take in mind. It's like, well, this is a lot more than I wanted to spend. Well, you're in a high tax district, a good school district, and it's not a bad place to be. And you're talking about the well-being of your family. Yeah, you might want to step up a little bit for that.
Sure.
And I think that having someone like Jim in your corner to help you strategize in these times, because we're kind of, like you said, with the inflation, this is a time to kind of think outside of the box. And if this isn't something that you do every day, I would want Jim to be there helping me, kind of walking me through that, giving me that advice like, hey, it's okay. Like, we're going to deal with this for right now, but let's deal with this, but let's focus on that. And that's not really my area of expertise, but I think, Jim, you bring that wealth of knowledge in those 34 years.
Ouch, quit it. No, thank you for that. I mean, and it is true. And again, it's about the people. People will never believe that, but it is about the people.
Well, I can tell you that being on the other side of the coin, from the clients that have hurdles to get over or obstacles to negotiate, I've worked with a lot of lenders, and Jim is definitely top tier. I can guarantee you that. So I think that we've touched on the topic, dipped our toe into it. So listeners who would want to get a hold of you, Jim, what areas do you work in?
Mostly Florida, Missouri, California, tiny bit of the Texas, and meaning Texas. And then what do you call Illinois, Dan?
The People's Republic of Illinois.
There you go. Okay. And there.
So
that's my main.
Okay. That's your main focus. So if the listeners want to get a hold of you, how do they do that if they're in those areas?
JimsHomeLoans.com.
JimsHomeLoans.com.
Or you can give me a call, 636-236-9263.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in this week. Please like, subscribe, follow along. We appreciate you guys listening. This has been the Close to Home podcast. Real people, real life, real stories. Catch you next week.
Have a great afternoon.
Bye, everybody.